Go ahead and jump into it. If you want to introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Joe Cullity. I was working over at One North End, which is on the river, but we had a trading floor at World Trade Center. Spent a lot of time there. Our trading floor was there, all the vaults were there, and mostly computers. That was kind of a secondary backup site. The main site for computers was One North End. And I was coming to work that day, about a half hour late, luckily. Um, and coming up from the pass station in the basement to the ground level to walk across to One North End, the tower shook violently. Lights blinked off and on. The escalator stopped. Then the escalator started going. The lights came back on.
Mm.
Didn't know what happened until I got up to concourse level. Even then, I was heading to the door, and everybody was screaming, and you saw flaming stuff coming down and landing. I guess it was in Church Street, across the street from the World Trade Center. So I didn't go out that door. I went heading to the west side, which is where I wanted to go anyway. And they were blocking us off, and I could look out to the courtyard, and there was all sorts of debris laying in the
Hmm.
courtyard. So we knew something bad had happened. No idea it was a plane. And
Okay.
I
So,
would travel with a
no,
just
you're good. I
travel.
don't mean to cut you off. There's just kind of a lot to digest there. So, if you don't mind, if we can kind of break it up in steps here.
Oh,
So,
okay.
no, you're good. I know we've talked about three times, technically four now.
3 or 4. I've
Yeah,
lost count. I don't.
yeah. No, it's always riveting. So it kind of all blends together just because it's you kind of pick up where you left off because it's such like an interesting story. But
Why don't
so
I? Why don't I? Why don't I start from scratch? I live in South Jersey,
okay.
and there were no ferry boats back then, at least not from my area of the world. So I would normally take a train up the North Jersey coastline, Penn Station in Newark. I could grab a subway from there over to World Trade Center,
Hmm.
or continue to Hoboken and grab either a ferry boat or a PATH train from Hoboken. Um, that day, to be honest, it's a little bit blurry. I think I got off in Newark and hopped on the PATH train, which
Hmm.
basically took me to the World Trade Center. And I was coming up from the PATH station when the building shook. That's probably the
Okay.
first segment.
So we'll go ahead and start there, I suppose. So you were on your way to work. You work at One North End, which I believe is the can't remember what the name of it is now. We just went over this. It's the Exchange Building, I think, is in the title.
I think it's the Mercantile Exchange building.
Yes. Yeah, the MEB. I've
Back
heard it
then it was
called.
the NYMEX building.
Hmm. And what did you do there? What was your position?
As little as possible. I'm very lazy.
No, you're good.
Um, let's see. Officially, I was a programmer, but that doesn't begin to cover it.
Hmm. You worked
Um,
on systems.
I designed and implemented electronic trading floor systems. Originally, I'm what you call an embedded systems programmer. That means I write code for computers that don't have an operating system. The best example is your microwave oven has a computer in it to run all the dials and read all the numbers and time stuff. Most likely, especially back then, it did not have an operating system. You actually had to talk to the bits and bytes and the ports and stuff in memory and make the thing run. Well, we had wall boards that were run on computers that
Hmm.
basically didn't have an operating system. You had to talk to a whole bunch of hardware directly from the CPU to put up all the trades and
Hmm.
clear the trades and erase the boards and change colors and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But from that, I went on to normal programming, which involved both
Yeah.
uh, an online trading floor system for
Hmm.
the input of the data when it's traded to the output to the screen,
Okay.
to
So
batch programs and clearing stuff.
okay. So in addition to the Mercantile Exchange Building, the company you worked for also owned property in, I believe, WTC 4.
Basically, the World Trade Center 4 was pretty much the entire building was us. The pictures you're looking at on the trading floor there,
Mm-hmm.
are actually at one north end.
Yeah.
I could look around and find some pictures, I bet, from the original World Trade Center trading floor. I don't have any handy.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was having a hard time finding specifically those just because it's kind of like a, niche area. I can in just a second here I can pull up a picture of WTC4. But so on that day, you were working. You were specifically reporting to One North End that day. That's where you were on your
No,
way to.
there was actually a meeting at number one.
Oh, really?
Um, I had yeah, well, that's where I lost a lot of my friends. They were already up there.
Oh, geez.
I wasn't sure I was heading up there. I was basically going over to One North End to support them if there were questions and stuff.
Okay. And what floor on the WTC one would that be?
They were at Cantor Fitzgerald.
Oh,
They
geez.
didn't have a pin.
That's incredibly unfortunate. I'm really sorry about that. Um, yeah, I mean, just kind of like everything that day. It's just kind of tragic. As you had mentioned, you were running late that day, so it's just kind of those small things like that makes such a difference, and kind of it allows you to be here today to share your story with us. So, you know, we're super thankful that not only you were here with us, but you're able to share your story. Um, you know, so uh, uh, going from there though, that day. So you were coming out. You believe it was the path located at the WTC complex. Uh,
Yes, the path comes in probably if there were floors, there aren't really. The escalator up is probably 3 floors up to the mezzanine. Actually, it's probably there's one escalator up that's at least 20 feet. That takes you from the path platform to like an area where you can switch tracks, and then you go up about another 20 feet to like a little platform, and then you probably go up 40, 50, maybe 60 feet to get to what would be ground level um,
the
in the
concourse.
on the well, the land is slanty. It would be ground level on the east side of the World Trade Center.
So over kind of near Church Street area.
I've got that map here. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Yes, I originally I was going to go out where it says World Trade Center 6, but
Okay.
when I got there, there was all sorts of flaming stuff coming down, so I headed to the front
Oh,
door,
already. Okay.
and there was flaming stuff coming down. I ain't going out that door, so I went back to the back door, and they weren't letting anybody out. But
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the number 6 there,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little piece of hallway. Do you see where 5 and 6 almost come together?
Yes.
On the
Uh,
map underground, or at the level I was at, you actually could walk. There's a walkway between them, and there's a glass partition. If you look at number 6, on the bottom right side, there's this little piece that juts out. There's a glass window there, and that's
mm-hmm.
where I was shooting pictures out of.
WTC 6.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of that while we're talking about that. So you came up out of the station for those watching on the stream with the map open. So out was that by Washington and Vesey there, and kind of between WTC 7, or was that more towards the corner?
Let's see, Vesey. No, away from that. If you look at number 6, away from Vesey, the other side of Vesey. If you go down to the gray area in number 6 and you go to the right just before it hits 5, on the south side of 6, there's a glass window,
Oh, okay.
and it looks out onto the World Trade Center, and that's where I saw all the stuff still coming down. At this point, I figured I better record this. I pulled what camera I had out, which was one of the original digital cameras, a Kodak DC 260
Yeah.
that all of these were shot with, and
Okay.
I just started shooting.
Okay. So when you came out of the station, you had mentioned before that all the debris was coming down. So the impact had happened at that point. You heard it while you were underground. Um,
Coming up, coming up the main escalator to the concourse, which is probably a 60-foot ride. It's not a short elevator, a
Mm-hmm.
short escalator. Uh, the building shook, the lights went off, the escalator stopped. Everything was dead for like 30 seconds. We started walking up the escalator.
Mm-hmm.
The lights came on, the escalator started. I'm not sure in which order. And
Mm-hmm.
when we got up to the top of the escalator, you could just see stuff falling. You could see the front. That's not a good way to put it. You
The
could see the
north.
east and west
Oh, the east.
doors, and there was stuff falling down, and some of it was flaming. So you didn't want to go out either door right away. You now have a picture of the escalator. You can see how long it
Yes.
is.
Yeah, that because it is kind of a walk because you go through like a concourse area or it just goes straight up out from there.
From the PATH train, you actually go up two smaller escalators just to get to the level where you get on that escalator.
Okay. Do you so when you exited the train and you were going towards the escalator is when you heard the explosion or when you were going up the escalator. So that's correct, right? I just want to before I go on a tangent.
Yeah, I was on the big escalator that you're
Yeah.
showing about halfway up when everything
Okay.
shook and the lights went off.
Okay. So that would have been about 8:46, kind of in there, because that's when the first impact happened. So the distance that you had to go, like roughly how much time do you think elapsed from when that happened to when you were taking your first pictures?
I have no idea. I'm going to guess 3 to 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. We worked out
Plus,
the math a little bit. I crunched the numbers and was kind of like looking at maps, and it's kind of hard because there's not much like maps of the old mall and concourse and all that. But it would be right there, right about like 3 to 4 minutes, just if you kind of went at a continuous pace. And the reason why we established that is because as far as we and most people are aware, the pictures you took that day are technically the first that we can kind of nail down that are the soonest of kind of within the complex. Obviously there's the Naudette film, and then the basically the only video of the first impact, the two French filmmakers, and then various kind of news agencies that like caught it, but that was all exterior. You were one of the first, not only amateur photographers, but just first in the complex, and that's very important, kind of for establishing like a timeline of events, um, because even by the time you took your first picture, and we'll pull that up here, which I believe this is the first picture I have pulled up here.
yes.
Okay, so this is the first picture you took looking through that glass wall, roughly kind of near WTC6 on the footbridge side. I apologize, or kind of closer to, you said closer to
That was,
WTC5.
no, it wasn't from the footbridge. It was
Yeah.
from World Trade Center 6. If you look at the right side, yeah, where you have your
Mm-hmm.
thing right now, that there's a glass window
Yeah.
along that. There's a hallway that runs along there.
Okay, cool.
And
I just want to make sure I
there
have that
was
right.
actually some sort of connection from 5 to 6.
Yeah, there was a like a little tunnel thingy. It has a name. I
And
can't remember it.
no, but I was right there. And right now I'm trying to see. Um, I don't know whether you looked at the, what do they call it, exit record in that picture. I'm not sure
Oh, the
Kodak even.
data. I
I'm not even
haven't
sure.
yet.
I'm not even sure if Kodak put the time and date there, and if they
It
did
might
back
not
then,
have
it
copied
wasn't.
over.
Well, I'm trying to see if I have any real originals that might have that
Mm-hmm.
data in it.
Well, it also
But
has
I
to.
would,
It determines if the date was set right on the camera as well, I
yeah,
suppose.
and that was done manually.
Yeah, yeah.
But oh wait, JPEG. Let's see. Let me take a look there.
Um,
Uh,
Kind of while you're
more
looking into
options.
that, that's a very common thing with a lot of 9/11 media, especially amateur media, is that a lot of times the date codes are wrong, and a lot of people immediately dismiss that as, oh, this is a fake, or oh, this we can't establish when this was taken. It's people don't really know with older technology like that, you had to manually set the date. I mean, how many people drive cars that every daylight savings they never set the clock so you're an hour off constantly? It's same basic idea.
Properties. Yeah, advanced. Two. Nah, it doesn't even look like they put any kind of data into it
Yeah.
back then. That
You,
was ancient history days.
it probably may have been there, but it might have gotten lost in one of the transfers. You've
No,
said,
no, I'm looking at something that's pretty much original.
oh, I see. You said
Uh,
it transferred over on like zip disk originally.
no, it was on a compact flash,
Yeah.
and and I don't. I guess it was US. No, it didn't even go USB. You had to take the card out, put it into a reader on the computer, and download it into the computer that
Yeah.
way.
Because it preceded SD cards, as far as I'm aware.
Oh yeah, but by a couple of years.
Yeah. So you had these photos, or you kind of took these photos. So we're gonna start kind of going back to the first one there. So this is the first one you kind of took coming up out of that area. You know, kind of wrong time says 5:21 p.m. Yeah, I think it also says
Yeah,
2017.
no. I'm looking at it. There was none of that information record in those pictures.
I wonder if
Sorry
there
about
maybe
that.
no, you're fine. I wonder if there's possibly a way to extract that, but you know that's something that can be looked into. The last time
I
while
I believe I believe the excerpt records that they put into the current pictures weren't even invented
no,
then.
no, there's probably just some sort of basic thing there, and it, like I said, it could easily get lost in maybe the original transfer. But while we're looking at the images here, so the last time we spoke about this image, you know, because you kind of just started taking these photos, you know, kind of once you showed up. Were you know, had you looked up at that point and saw kind of the extent, or were you
I couldn't look up. We didn't even know there was a fire up there. I mean, we
really?
kind of assumed there was a fire because I saw some things falling down that were in flames.
Mm-hmm.
But um, until I this is on the west side of the complex.
Yeah,
Until I got
yeah, kind of
a
northwest. Yeah.
door on the east side, I
Um,
had no idea that there was even a fire up on the top floor.
yeah. If this is WTC 6, this would actually kind of be on the east side of WTC 1. Kind of looking
Um,
at, because you can see the stage. This,
let's see.
so
Uh,
if you're looking at the map,
WTC 1 is south of WTC 6.
yes, yes. So you came up kind of in this area here, and you're looking
Correct.
out towards WTC 1 across, like
Right.
into the plaza, and the stage would be right here.
Where it
So,
says World Trade Center text, that's pretty much where the stage was.
yeah, kind of close to WTC 1 in the corner here. There's another image I wish I had that someone else took. That's very kind of.
Actually, the first picture. Let me pull the map up again.
Let me see if I can
The
send
first
myself.
picture is really looking over more to WTC 4 diagonally.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, yes. The first one, which I believe is this one. That's the one looking at WTC 4. Because
Yes.
you're looking straight across the plaza, and as we had talked before, you hadn't noticed, I guess, the other people, which you know with so much going on, it's kind of probably you know hard to fathom. But yeah, kind of all the people, especially I don't think you had noticed, or really anyone had noticed, the gentleman here actually out in the plaza next to that piece of the aluminum cladding there.
Let me go to the next picture. I can blow it up full size.
Mm.
Yeah, there was a guy running. You can see him in the black if you really zoom in.
Yeah, I have that. I believe that should be up on the stream right now. I hope.
And I'm
See if
trying to
I can.
find.
I'm just waiting for this to load. I'm trying to get the other link because I can't pull it up on my desktop. There we go. Okay, let me pull that up here while you're looking at what you're looking at. while you're pulling that up, I had discussed briefly. So these images you took, and you have the originals, all the ones that you've kind of released over the time. They're cropped. They're in this 4:3 type aspect ratio with the sides cropped off. So you possess.
If I
Mhm.
cropped them, all I did was take 10 or 12 pels off of one side and
Yeah.
shave a little bit off.
Yeah. So just for any, I only mention that so that way people are aware that there is authenticity to this, because unfortunately there are those out there that will try and falsify information, but you do possess the originals, and that's kind of your proof.
Yeah.
Yes, because as you had mentioned, the original camera and the original the original storage format was lost at some point, which over 20 years.
I don't think the original storage form, they came out JPEG and this is JPEG, and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't done anything to modify the compression ratios or anything. These
Mm-hmm.
should be, although when I put the text Joe Cullity into this picture, it did save it. So that is, you're right. Some of them may have had the compression ratio change, but when I saved them, I usually saved them with the highest JPEG compression ratio that
Mm-hmm.
I could. So I don't think there was much of any loss.
Oh no, no, I didn't mean to imply that. I mean it's always possible. I just meant just like that's your, you possess at least the slightly uncropped, unwatermarked. So any other distribution of that would kind of be not necessarily counterfeit, but like just kind of like any type of like protection. Like you own the originals; they're your property, and they're only
Yes,
distributed
I
with your
own the
permission.
original.
Yeah, and
Yes,
currently, at least these versions, you're fine with circulating.
yes.
Okay, because the Google Drive link that you've linked is kind of publicly available, or at least
It
you've
is
kind of made it
public.
available.
Anybody with only can take a look at it.
Okay, cool. Just before we share that, I just want to verify that. So as we were speaking, your release of these in a wider format, I believe you said not that long ago you created the Google Drive. These are like the first high quality images of the plaza. There's a couple taken from windows actually in the South Tower, which I can pull up here any moment, and then there's a few taken after by a gentleman of the name J.S. Bach, but that would have been after the South Tower, looking out into the plaza while the North Tower is still standing, almost kind of in the same area that you were, but obviously much later, to kind of like offer some perspective. But while I pull these up here, I was going to mention the pictures that you took kind of line up time wise with this picture that for some reason does not want to pull up for me. Apologize. There we go. This picture, although this one might be a little bit, no, yeah, so this one would be kind of, so I believe out here would be WTC 6. I'm not sure that little kiosk as an identifier, or possibly I can't. This one's hard to place because if it's looking out over the plaza, the South Tower, yeah, the little audio stands right there. So this would be looking at WTC 6 right there. This one, I believe, might be a little later. There's a slightly earlier one, but this is from, I want to say, like the 50th or 60th floor. Someone will correct me. Yeah, that's about all I can surmise at the moment.
But you can see all those little white specks. That's probably stuff falling down from the top of the tower. That it was like
Yes.
raining papers and
Yes.
cardboard and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I see like seeing that picture of the gentleman out in the plaza is mind blowing to me that someone would be out there, because it almost looks like he's not, because if you said the impact had happened in about 5 to 6 minutes had transpired, that means that gentleman was already out in the plaza, or kind of went out there later, which to me sounds insane, just given kind of the situation. Um, while we're pulling stuff up here. Um, So there's a couple of photos and other stuff kind of around roughly the same area, kind of in the same vents. There's rumors that there's other footage kind of areas in the plaza, but they're unsubstantiated at this time. So that's why speaking to you is very important because you for sure were there and have photos of the area, and that helps I guess authenticate any other claims. Um, let's move along here in images because I'm still waiting for that other thing to pull up. So after the first impact, you came in. I took the 2 photos, I believe. Yeah, it was just the 2 photos, and then you started to head away.
Yeah, when that picture, I was already out of the World Trade Center,
Yeah,
across the street from it. Let's
to the
see.
east, I believe.
That would be probably be either 4 or 5. The black thing down there,
Yeah.
I think.
So that should be 5. You should be on like Church, right? Kind of either by Vesey or I think that's what
I'm
Fulton.
trying to think. I might. Let me take a look at that picture again. It would be before there. I'm not sure whether I'm at where it says. Oh, you don't have that on me.
Sorry, I can pull it back up
Um,
here. I have the image
Bring
up
the
right
map
now.
back up.
No, you're good. So if this is the North Tower, South Tower. If you were to the east of that, and this should be WTC 5 right here, because
Well,
four would be to the left.
which one got hit first? Number one
North
or number
Tower,
two?
WTC 1.
So that's the North Tower because
Yeah.
the South Tower hadn't been hit yet.
Yep.
That's the North Tower. Let me go back to my map.
Yeah.
That's the North Tower. I might have been in. There's 3 buildings.
Yeah.
On my map it says 11, 9, 10, and 11. That doesn't do us any good. You don't have them.
No, you're good. The map I
There's
have
a
up,
building.
if it helps.
I think you say 12. Let me get a magnifying glass.
No, you're good. And for those of you watching, please bear with us. It's been 20 years. A
I'm
lot of
looking at
us.
this on a small screen.
No, yeah,
Um,
yeah. A lot of us have the
I think
fortune
I
of
think I'm in
youth.
front of 22 Portland Street at that time.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be 4 World Trade Center. That would be number one
5.
of the low. There's a part of number 5 that didn't go all the way to the top. It just went up a few floors. I think
Yeah.
that black thing is
Yeah.
probably.
I believe it's kind of this corner is a little bit lower than the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you should have came out. So kind of as you're heading away, is this kind of around the time that you kind of realize like you get a chance to look up and kind of see what's going on?
No, I when I ran out, there was still stuff falling down. I just made a bowline for
Right.
across the street, and then I got down a little bit south because the crowds were too tight where I was at, and I think I was in front of 22 Cortlandt Street, maybe up a couple of steps. There's a couple of steps up to the entranceway, just so I could see over the top of the crowd. Hang on, let me see if a couple pictures. Yeah, I don't know if you go about 3 or 4 pictures down,
Mm-hmm.
you can see something where it says Trinity Deli and
Yep.
Burger King and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And
So
that
you can see I'm up a couple of steps above ground level there.
for those
So
curious, that would be right here on the map. Kind of that Burger King is right here on the corner of Liberty and Trinity.
yes, so where I am would be 1 Liberty Plaza
Mm-hmm.
probably.
I believe so. Kind of that intersection there. Yeah.
Right.
Because at this point, you kind of the direction you were going. Did they have the police lines established as you were going in that direction? Because I believe that's as far until the South Tower that they had pushed everyone back, and then obviously after that they basically kicked everyone out of Lower Manhattan.
I really don't. I don't remember seeing any police lines, or if I were,
Okay,
they were
so they
just
probably would have been later.
running around helter skelter. They
Mm-hmm.
were trying to figure out what's going on themselves.
Right.
I do believe there were a couple of fire engines way to the right,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they even knew what to do at that point. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they were just setting up,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
possibly running.
Mhm.
You had an you still had water in the hydrants there. I think they were maybe putting water into pumpers, but I don't think they figured it was going to do any good to go up that high.
No, they actually. So, from I can't remember one of the interviews with the firefighters. Hopefully I'll be able to find a link for it after this and put it in like a link dump for everything. Um, After the attack in '93, they had kind of like reassessed the firefighting capabilities because they had went in, replaced sprinkler systems, did stuff like that, and I believe they determined that if like there was a major fault in the fire suppression system, there was really nothing they could do because if it's above, I think they said like floor 60, the amount of like pumping force it would require, you would need like industrial pumps, nothing that like a fire engine pump or even multiple working together could accomplish. So I wonder if they were at least attempting, but kind of hopeless in the sense of.
You have to remember the floor is 10 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and that water, what was, let's see, 14.7 psi is about, I used to do scuba diving. 14.7 psi is about 23 feet high of water. So, in order to get, and they had pumping stations on each of the machine floors.
Mm-hmm.
So there were two machines up, had booster pumps somewhere in the lower level that put enough water pressure in it to get it up at least 30 or 40 floors, which is 300 to 400 feet. So 20 goes into 300, 10 goes into 100. 100, that has, I'd have to take a piece of paper out and figure that out.
No, you're good.
But
We can crunch the numbers later and put it in post.
okay.
So kind of while we're talking about the North Tower and infrastructure, so this was a picture that was taken, I believe, 10 to 15 minutes after the North Tower impact. So when American Airlines 11 impacted WTC 1, it traveled through the building. It's very kind of rare to see them because of the smoke and wind direction, but there actually was a hole on the south side of the North Tower where a lot of the plane debris flew out. In some instances, tragically, striking, injuring people, and I believe in 2 cases there were fatalities, unfortunately. Just with that whole day, it's also unfortunate, but uh, the impact was so violent, that it pretty much severed pretty much all of the main arteries of the building. Someone pointed out to me that, in fact, this large, at first I thought it was like a 5-inch conduit, is actually most likely part of the water fire suppression system because they pointed out, kind of on the ground around it, these are actually fire hoses that would be kind of in the emergency areas, and those would have been adjacent to the water, kind of
Yeah.
the pump in, not necessarily like the sprinkler stuff. So someone pointed that out, and I believe that was actually part of the NIST investigation that didn't get published. But yeah, this is actually one of those metal trusses of the facade, and this is actually a wheel from American 11. Yeah. So just kind of getting into that for some people who are unaware of just kind of the severity of the situation and the situation the firefighters and first responders were actually facing. That they just didn't have the time to work out any possible solutions. Getting back to your specific story, so kind of when you traveled through Trinity Plaza here, you went further south. You were heading south, kind of towards
I was heading south along, let's see. I don't even know the name of that. Let me,
Trinity.
that didn't sound good.
Hmm?
Uh, Church Street? No. West, no. Has to be Trinity Plaza, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I guess it's called Church Street when you get just a little bit further north.
I think a lot of people historically call it Church Street. When I was in New York, I stayed at Millennium Hotel here, and Church Street was here, and pretty much everyone that I encountered was like, "Oh, how do you get here?" It's like, "Oh, just keep heading south on Church Street," and you go, and it's like, well, "This is Trinity Plaza," and everyone's like, "No, it's Church Street." So I think that's
Yeah, something like
possibly,
that.
yeah. So when you were heading down that way, that's when the second impact occurred.
Right.
And
That the second plane went in,
mm,
and you're looking at that from the south side of the tower. The
mm,
plane went in the north side of the tower and blew everything out the south side. And all of those white things are pieces of debris and stuff. And that's something up there in that cloud of stuff, probably not in that part of the picture,
mm.
probably a little bit above what's in that picture, came down and gave me a smack.
Yeah. So you were actually injured on that day. Yeah, the story you had
Yes.
shared. Yeah, if you want to kind of go through that, because that was honestly, it must be from just kind of your original description of it. Like that has to be horrifying. So, if you want to kind of go through that.
Real quick, the plane went in, I started shooting,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to remember the DC 260 was a class act camera then, but it took almost, oh Jesus, I don't know, I bet it was 20 or 30 seconds between the time you shot the picture and the time the picture was saved to the
Mm-hmm.
compact flash card before you could shoot another picture. I
Mm-hmm.
think it might have had a one picture buffer,
Mm-hmm.
so you could shoot two right away and then wait. I forget. It's not like today's cameras.
Yeah,
And
I have a similar like
I,
Sony one. That yeah, that.
I was shooting as fast as I could, but I'm looking at all the stuff coming down. All of a sudden, it was like, wait, that stuff's heading for me, and everybody started running, and I got clobbered with looked like a piece of a cubicle wall with a piece of a desk attached to it or something,
Jeez.
and knocked me on my duffer.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so you know, it was like kind of like a not necessarily a severe injury, but it was something that wasn't small. You had described it as like like a larger piece of like you had said like a cubicle and kind of maybe some like
I
drywalling.
had I
Oh,
I
hang
had
on.
so much adrenaline in me, it really didn't hurt at the
Okay.
moment that it happened. But even walking south to get over to a place where I could go east to the river, my right leg, I knew I was in trouble.
Hmm.
And years later, I finally got a new hip, and it was most, according to the doctors, most of it was probably from
Hmm.
that crunch. So it was a pretty good hit.
Okay. Was that part of what was I going to say? Like, was that covered under the kind of the stuff that got passed through Congress after, or like a donation fund?
No, it got covered, but not that way. It went years and years, maybe
Mm-hmm.
decade plus. One set of doctors said arthritis, the other set of doctors said 9/11, and nobody could agree, and nothing got
Mm-hmm.
done. Obama kindly came in and said pre-existing conditions are covered, and bang, new hip. They didn't care how it happened. So
Mm-hmm.
I still like Obamacare because I got a new hip out of it.
Well, hey,
Um,
can't beat that. Yeah.
no, I mean, it went on
Mm-hmm.
decades of people fighting, pointing fingers, and I just went into the doctor. He said, "Oh, nowadays we can fix it, no problem. Pre-existing conditions, we don't care how it happened."
Mm-hmm.
So that was a real good thing from Obama's years.
Mm-hmm.
He made some mistakes too, but basically I liked the guy, and that got me a new hip.
Yeah. I tend to stay out of politics. It's always it's never fun. But yeah, no, definitely there was that was a bright side of just kind of everything going on in general over, pretty much the decade to follow all of that. Um, just kind of the stuff leading up to that. So did you seek medical attention that day? Kind of the severity of it, just out of
No,
my
I
own curiosity.
basically my main goal that day
Mm-hmm.
was to get over to One North End, and when I and that jumps ahead of the story just a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Don't get off the island any way you can." So I got off and we had plans to come back the next day, how to get there, and all that stuff, and where we were going to meet. And I
Mm-hmm.
got off the island. I went home, gathered tools and knapsacks of clothing and everything because I knew it was going to be a long haul.
Mm-hmm.
Took a nap, and it was before the sun came up, like 5:30 maybe. We had a train come up with a back car or two where everybody got on somewhere, and they got us into Penn Station, and
Mm-hmm.
through all sorts of crazy means, we got down into the Plaza area.
Mm-hmm. Because kind of just staying on the same train of the story that you're on. So you were actually on a disaster, or on kind of like a response team where you worked for, as far as like the infrastructure work, because, basically all of, lower Manhattan was basically cut off from, telecommunications, internet, even, stuff like sewage and just electricity. So, you were
And water.
mhm, for your company, or was it more like kind of like
No, it was for my company, but
mhm,
all the companies talk to one another
right?
unofficially.
Yeah, because you had mentioned, was it what telecommunications carrier was it that you had with? Because they were one of the only ones that actually somewhat maintained coverage that day.
Oh, I think I just got lucky. I was using T-Mobile back then,
Yes.
and that wasn't the companies. I was they reimbursed us for our cell phones. We had to have
Yes.
them, but that's who I picked. I had something called a sidekick,
Hmm.
and if I stood by a window on the 14th floor of my building, you know, and that faced Hoboken, I could usually pick up a tower somewhere and get
Hmm.
some phone calls over to Jersey, and my
Hmm.
phone just kept passing around because I was about the only guy to get a phone call out.
Yeah. If I remember from what I went through, the information I went through, so T-Mobile has kind of always relied on their own infrastructure, at least at that time, because I believe it's like Alltel, which later became Verizon. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they usually either shared or kind of adopted each other's infrastructure. And one thing that T-Mobile hadn't done was put their own transceiver on top of the North Tower, because when the impact had occurred, that essentially severed the data transmission from the main receiver, and most other broadcasting antennas in New York City had been decommissioned by that point, I believe, on the Chrysler building, on the MetLife building. I don't remember what it was called at the time. And I believe there were very few companies that actually still maintained a backup at the Empire State Building, because basically that just had emergency fallback. So there were very few companies that were actually, telecommunications, news broadcast, at least that were based in New York, had major issues there. But
Back
mhm.
then, your cell phone signal really only went about a half mile
Mhm.
reliably. And you're right, everybody else was on the roof of the World Trade Center.
Mhm.
T-Mobile would have like little antennas on top of local buildings,
Mhm.
and
That was
they
their
had
business
their own
plan.
web. Yeah, that was their business plan. And I could usually get a signal over to Hoboken, which was more than a half mile across the river, but you could usually get a signal and get the word out and talk.
Mhm. So after that, before we get kind of more into the aftermath and kind of your role in that afterwards, so as you continued south, if it pulls up here, this is another image you took kind of after the impact. You continued south towards, the southern end of Manhattan, or did you end up kind of more to the east or west?
I basically went south. Um, let's see, on your thing. Do you see where it said? Let's see, on your thing, number four. Where, um, where it says World Trade Center one. I don't know whether it goes down any further south the other way.
Hmm.
The building
No,
where
mine
you're
gets
at
cut
now,
off right here.
I think Rector Street might be the street.
Yeah.
I was able to go east along that street. They hadn't blocked it off.
Okay.
No, it would be one more block south of
Yeah.
Rector Street. But
Unfortunately,
the
mine
next
doesn't
the
go
next
farther.
street on West Street, oh, no, not West Street, on Church Street. Oh,
Hmm.
let's go back to Church Street. Trinity Plaza. Let me pull up a Google Maps
No, you're good.
on a different platform. Yeah, but I need to see it because if I open in tab, uh, New York City, any day now. Okay. Um, World Trade Center. I'm trying to think. There's the tunnel. I got a picture of the tunnel. I had to go down to south of Exchange Alley, Egger Street, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get a satellite image of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a there's a street where it comes out of a tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's all the way down to. Oh, trying to think.
Because you
There's
would
quite a hike.
be. So in the image I'm pulling up here, you're actually near Trinity Church, which would be close to Wall Street, I believe.
There's a picture where you can see cars coming out of a out of a tunnel.
Yeah,
Hold
right
on.
there.
Let me get a link to this. Locate, share, embed image. I'm gonna send you on Facebook a link.
Yeah, I
Copy
believe this is
link.
the Holland Tunnel.
No, that's I think that it goes underground around where the New York City ferry boat is.
Oh yeah,
Um, and, and and let
the
me just.
Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, I think.
That's what it's called. You
Yeah,
got it.
yeah. I don't know my tunnels very
Uh,
well. Yeah, because it's near Battery Park, which is in pretty far southern
I
Manhattan.
just sent you a link on Google Maps.
Okay,
I just
let
sent you a link on Google Maps.
me. I gotta find that page right there. Get that out
And
of.
go look at a satellite image of that.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's now I was on a bridge. If you pull up the satellite image, I can show you where I think it is. Can you pull up the satellite
I
image
am.
of that?
It's loading. It's going really slow because of stream.
And you can see both tunnels are coming out. They're not
Yeah.
going in.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the top of the,
Hang on.
blow
Let
it up a little bit
me.
more.
Well, I'm gonna pop it in so that way everyone else can see it. Okay. So Brook. Yeah. So right here is our tunnel.
Okay, if you go up a little bit, there's this gray bar going across. You're gonna have to blow it back up big again.
So there's a
Stop.
tunnel.
On the lower part, lower your cursor. Do you see
Mhm.
you're almost on this gray bar that goes across the roadway?
Mhm.
No, go back up. Go
Sorry.
north.
Sorry.
Go north. Go
Oh.
north.
Oh.
Go
The
north.
talking about the
Stop there.
pedestrian
I
bridge.
think that was the footbridge I got across to the other side.
Okay.
I had to go all the way down there before they let me across. By the time I started going down, they had set up barricades.
Okay. Yeah, because so right here, so you must have headed down Broadway then, because this is Trinity Church right here, and in the previous image to that, this is, yeah, you should be able to see it in my window here. This is Trinity Church right here. That's the spire. So yeah, so you must have headed down
I had to go,
Broadway and then passed through the exchange area on Morris right here, the little cross connecting street here.
and I may have like made a right, gone as close to where as I could. They made me go
Possibly, yeah.
south. It wasn't a straight walk.
Yeah.
But once I got across that mess, um, let's see, I got on South End Avenue, and I started heading back north, trying to get to 1 North End Avenue.
Yeah. So you were at this time you weren't on your way out of Manhattan, you were just kind of trying to navigate your way.
I was trying to get over to 1 North End Avenue
Right.
because that was our initial meeting point.
While we have
And
the map up, that's I believe this building right here. 300 Vesey.
that white building would be my building.
Yeah, right there.
That one.
So yeah, so you were at this
And we
point.
were going to meet at the south end of that building.
Yeah, so at this point you were right in this location. Yeah, and you
Right,
had to get. So you were trying to kind of go around up towards here.
right.
Okay.
And
Um,
my hip was definitely hurting that day.
yeah, I imagine all that walking. Because at that time you said you were about in your 40s or 50 at the time. So that's you know
Well, I'm 72 now, so you can do the math, but probably faster than I could.
I failed math class. No, I got you though.
How
Yeah,
many,
because
how
that's
many, how many years ago did the tower fall?
22 years. Yeah,
22
22. It'll be
minus,
22 this
that'd make,
September.
no, that'd make me 52, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, so that I mean that's an injury that like a younger person that's even still I think like a substantial injury. So I couldn't imagine having to do all that walking after getting hit
Normally
by
that
something.
much walking would be, normally that much walking wouldn't bother me at all, but that day I knew I had a problem.
Yeah. So this is farther to the south. I'm trying to. This is one that I was trying hard to place. Um, that would have to almost be kind of on. Is this west side? Yeah, West Street. So probably as you were crossing West Street, because if the towers were here, that's almost kind of the angle that you were at here. Almost. Maybe it was. Maybe you were looking down Washington Street. Actually, that makes more sense. I'm not sure. Not all these skyscrapers are the same. Yeah, maybe somewhere in that rough area, kind of just to plot out a little kind of like a plot map. At that point, things were looking pretty bad. This one, okay, this is the one I was looking at. This one had to have been kind of looking down West Street. There.
From there, I think I was actually behind the, what's the number that one? Let me take a look at that. Just the
One
last
two
four
nine
digits.
12931.
One, two,
931
nine,
B.
9, 3, 1.
Yeah, you had mentioned that there's like, there might be like a buffering in the camera. I think so too, maybe because the way that it assigns letters to them. I'm not
I
sure though.
really don't remember.
That was just a thought that I had.
Yeah,
But
I was way south of the towers. Yeah, I really
yeah,
don't remember
no,
where I
you're all
was.
right. I believe from that angle it would, kind of have to maybe be over here by South End. You might have been on South End at that point. But
By the time you get down to 2955, I am definitely just dead east of the towers.
yeah. Um, while we're kind of looking at this image, that little chunk on the bottom of the north tower there, where you kind of see it like divot down like that black area on my
I'm
screen.
trying to think what that is.
So that
Um,
is actually this where this piece is missing from. Just
that
to kind
that
of
could be.
Yeah, just to kind of quantify it. That's what NIST, the team assigned by the commission, had determined. Because actually, when the South Tower collapsed, this actually was lost. That wheel and the rest of that was never recovered, just because of the complete severity of the collapse. But that would have been, I think, on Cedar Street, about 2 blocks away. But yeah, just to kind of perspectivize that. So this picture would be kind of on your way, continuing towards your workplace, towards One
Sure.
North End, because this is the World Financial Center in the foreground, and you are directly west of the North Tower. Well, with the orientation of them, technically, I think you're to the northwest, but people just call it the west side of it.
Yes, I
Yeah,
would just call it the west side of it.
yeah, because that's the American Express building, WFC 1, WFC 2, and WFC 3 for those watching.
Well, you also have the Winter Garden. That
Yeah,
round thing at the
yeah.
bottom is the entrance to the Winter Garden.
Mm-hmm. Which I believe was also destroyed in the collapse.
The
I can't
the
remember.
the glass on the back was still there the next day, but everything up to the glass was flat.
Mm-hmm. So that you were continuing towards One North End, So that would have been at that time. Yeah, you would have been kind of. You would have been right outside your place of work, essentially. Because, yeah,
Right.
there's the winter gun.
Maybe just a little bit south of it.
Yeah. Yeah, roughly, yeah. Kind of near this marina. So at that point, kind of once you had arrived, kind of what transpired that kind of changed, obviously
Um,
then the obvious events, but kind of
they
what,
had evacuated the building,
mm-hmm,
and the word was get the blah, 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 off
mm-hmm,
the island any way you can.
mm-hmm,
And if you look at the map, you see the white things there
uh,
in the water. Yeah,
you talking
just
about,
raise your curtain. Those, yeah,
yeah,
that's where the ferry boats dock,
yeah,
and I'm not sure they're still there. Uh, and
this is
they weren't
currently,
even yeah, they weren't even collecting money or tickets. It was
mm-hmm,
get on a boat. They were packing us in like sardines, and they were heading over to Hoboken and
mm-hmm.
coming back and getting more.
Yeah, because I can pull up a picture here of kind of this. I mean, so there's like pictures of like the ferries literally just running up to the walls here and just picking people up. Oh, actually, I think this is literally right. Oh, where'd that image go? I hate when they do that. They like thumbnail the image you're looking for. Oh, that's so awful. That literally shouldn't be allowed. Yeah, but no, yeah, it was they were just getting people out of there. That was kind of
Right.
the modus operandi of them. This is to the south, but yeah, just kind of it was just boats everywhere.
And that took us over to the Hoboken Railroad Station.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the Hoboken Railroad Station. It should be
That's
right
all right.
there in Italy.
I gotcha.
That's really, oh, there it is. It's, let's see. It's quite a bit north. It's further north than I thought.
Oh, right there.
Yes, you've got it. It took
Mm-hmm.
us there, and they didn't know what to do either. Everybody was scratching their heads. They weren't sure there was going to be electricity. Luckily, a lot of the trains that leave Hoboken are not electrified.
Mm-hmm.
They ran diesels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to hop on a diesel train that was, I'm well above safety standards for traveling, I'm sure, but nobody cared that day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I'm guessing 45 minutes or so later that the train started moving out of the station. It was like you didn't even have standing room. You barely had breathing room. I got lucky. I got on the train early. I got a seat by a window because I wanted to have my camera out, at least for one or two pictures, which I did get.
We're just having some difficulties. Jeff Weinstein, if you'll come to me, tell us about the friends you lost. We might be able to go into that. We will kind of get to his work aspect of it here in a bit. Most of that will fall kind of after the events of that day. Jack Jackson, also Robert Burns, can't be burned ass. Milesium, to answer your question about the piece of debris that was lost. And so essentially where this wheel and grid frame from the World Trade Center tower was located. I pulled it up in a image. Oh, yeah, it's one of Joe's images here. I will go back to it. So right here where it was blown out, it landed right. So this church right here, the Greek Orthodox Church, is this building right here. Both this building and essentially Cedar Street here were essentially kind of obliterated in the collapse of the South Tower because its location here And for those of you joining us, we really appreciate it. There was a little preface at the beginning, but I think it got cut off just 'cause.
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. I was just going over some stuff with the people in the chat. So if you found what you're looking for, did you send me that in a link?
If you go back up to the World Trade Center pictures, the last one there, I sent you an email, ends in 2985-B.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Hoboken Station. The train's already pulling out because I couldn't see anything while we were in the station.
And you
But
added
that's
this
over
one
in one.
in. Wait, which one did you
That's
say?
not it.
12985.
Should be the bottom one alphabetically.
So this one right here is 1 2. Oh wait, let me refresh. Actually, that's probably why.
Yeah, that you may
Yeah,
have to do that.
12985 right there.
It should have a B after it if it's the one you want.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
stuck my name in the lower left real fast, sloppy.
Okay.
But that's from Hoboken, looking over across a marsh, and that's the World Trade Center in the distance. Both towers have fallen, and we're on an escape train out of New York.
Okay. So yeah, so this is while you're on the train.
Yes, that's
Okay.
through a train window too, so not the greatest picture.
No, no, that's actually very interesting. I'm glad you added this one in for it because any more information we get, kind of that's kind of our purpose at the Media Archive, is to find stuff and share it, and obviously get the story and the person out there, because there's so many images that are just credited as unknowns, especially that it's come out very recently. There was actually an image the other day that I was having a hard time tracking down because I was like, I've never seen this image before. This is bizarre. That it's taken. I don't want to pull it up here, unfortunately, because it, like a lot of other really close photos, there's
No, no
human
problem.
remains and other things. Well, just because of YouTube and other things, I don't want to pull that up now. Maybe when we go to edit it together, I'll make a censored version and put it on there. But either way, I was having a hard time tracking it down. And someone posted it, and it's like, oh no, it's just on this art website, and I was like, what? Someone posted like an original image like a year ago of like probably South Tower right after the second impact, just like 20 feet away in the car park, and it's like it's just listed as unknown uploader, or the person uploading it isn't an artist. It's just listed as unknown, and that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to put a name and a story to a picture, because a picture can only
One
tell you
thing
so
I have
much.
to jump in on,
Yeah, go ahead.
and not to cut you up, but I'm gonna have to cut this short pretty soon.
No, you're fine. Yeah, we're kind of getting
We
close to the timeline that we had set out, anyways. So that's fine. Let me get into close to like wrapping up here, because I just want to pull up if anyone has any more questions. I want to get that up for people. So on the so when you were in the plaza, obviously, kind of when you get there, you'd mentioned that there was debris falling, like paper, obviously, parts of office stuff and other things. Like, what would you say kind of was like? I mean, they said on a scale of 1 to 10, but kind of like, other than like the paper and small stuff, like was there like metal and other stuff raining down constantly?
constantly no,
Okay,
but
just kind of the
um,
initial.
I mean, if you look out, um, the one where you can see the ball in the courtyard,
Mm, the Koenig sphere, I
yeah,
think,
that
is
one.
what it's called.
Zoom in on where's your cursor? Well, right down about an inch. That white thing,
Oh, right in
that's
front of you.
metal.
Yeah, that's some of the aluminum cladding. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize about the North and South Tower. They're like, where's all the concrete, all that? It's like, there was barely any concrete in that building. There was about 6 inches of each floor, and that's about it. The staircases were all
Yep.
metal. Everything was just, you had foot thick drywall for the stairwells, and then other than that, you just had basic plasterboard. And the entire outside of the building, even though it looks like a lot of people think like white marble or like some type of stone, it really is just aluminum, like thin sheeting. Like think of like what gutters are made out of on most houses. Kind of like what
You
this
know
guy's
what?
standing next to. Mm-hmm.
Go to the picture before that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, wrong way.
No,
Yeah.
the other way. Right side. You see that white thing sticking out? That might have been a beam or to just an inch to the right of where your cursor is.
Right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be another one of those. So yeah, these ones would that are like really destroyed here would have been closer to the side of the building that was impacted, kind of on the north side, kind of off screen to the right. And someone pointed it out to me, and I'm having a hard time locating it in one of these two images. There might be a piece of the plane, which would be one of the first pictures of that. Because after the South Tower impact, there was, plane pieces in a large quantity. Someone pointed out to me, and I'm not, I'd have to look at the photo that they highlighted it in because I think they had to like color correct it so that way you could like kind of get more definition out of the stuff in here. Because, there's a lot of stuff you can see in here, but it's just hard to make out. But either way, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of detail and things captured in here. Like even just like all the rocks and rubble, like that's from that floor that I mentioned. That's like the only concrete in the building. I think that maybe that was it. That's part. I think I swear I want to say like one of these two pieces right here. These are metal, not anything else. Some people allege that they're other things. They're metal.
I couldn't even guess.
Yeah, no, someone was claiming that this is part on the side of the American Airlines livery on the plane. There's like that red pinstripe that runs around it. And that, like, if you look right there, that's the same scale. That's what the person alleged. I'm not sure. But yeah,
Yeah,
just an interesting little thing.
I'm zoomed in and it's kind of blurry when I
I
zoom
mean,
in. I'd be hesitant.
that's how a lot of this is. That it's just kind of, well, hey. One other thing that I wanted to get into, we had talked about this the last time that we spoke because you're uploading the images and making them available. I believe you said was kind of around like 2017, 2016 when you made them kind of available to a more wider group other than your former coworkers or people that were kind of in and around the area that you knew personally.
If that was a question, I missed it. I
No,
mean,
you're good. You said that so like 2017 was when you kind of first distributing these images kind of on a more public basis. That's when you made the
yeah, I
Google
mean,
Drive.
some of them probably went around to coworkers.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so busy in the World Trade Center
Mm-hmm.
for I bet 6 weeks after this mess
Yeah.
that I didn't have time to take care of anything personal
Right.
business. But I bet that I distributed some of them through other means.
Mm-hmm. You
Um,
mentioned you had like a website too, and you might have posted them there on like a hidden
that
URL.
and but even before that, I might have like emailed them or put them on
Yeah.
CD-ROMs or something for other people.
Yeah. Because to my knowledge, so before you released them, some of them, a few of them, like the one I'm looking at now, and one other one at least, semi-circulated. And I want to say there's two more images that I'm not sure if they were your images, and that's why I kind of wanted to maybe possibly confirm that with you because they're. You had mentioned that sometimes there were a few images that were a slightly different angle. That's why I kind of saw these, and they have some images that like
Pop them up.
I will right now. So these ones are the ones I was talking about that look like someone just took a picture of like a computer screen. But we're gonna pull those up. So I'm gonna try and kind of
I
get these
I don't
one to
think
one. So hang on. The first one that so this image, this one is yours.
okay.
Let me just do this like this. So if we kind of compare the two, this is like a cropped version of your image.
Wait, one, two. I tell you what, they would have had they would have had to been standing in exactly the same. Go back to mine. Would have had to been standing in exactly the same
Yeah.
spot I was in.
Well, so I was saying this is your image. Someone either, maybe you were showing someone or they got access to it.
Right.
Yeah, because this specific archive here was uploaded in 2018, but the images themselves are older from when they were actually taken. But so the reason why I bring all this up is because there were a couple that I wanted to kind of find out if they were yours. So there was this image here, which is farther to the side of anything that kind of we see in yours, but it's taken in roughly the same location. I'm not sure if this is
I don't think that
yours.
one's mine.
Okay. Because we're just trying to clarify because we don't know prior
Are
to
there any
you were
numbers? Is there
no
a name?
no unfortunately not because like I said these are someone literally like their phone camera and like someone had them up on like a computer monitor or something and then someone took the picture with their phone because you can see.
Phone cam.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of
This
phone
was like
cameras back
later.
in.
No, this was later. So
Okay.
yeah, so like years later, someone must have had it up on like a computer screen or a TV screen. Like,
Yeah,
here's these
that could be.
images, and then someone while that was happening took their phone and like took pictures of them. That's my guess
That
because if you look at the quality, that looks like I just pulled my phone out and took a picture of my screen, instead of
yeah.
like an actual like JPEG image. But so the reason why I was asking, there's a couple images here that we don't see in your Google Drive, and like I said, we were just trying to clarify if you took them or another person took them, so that way we can, potentially attribute that where it needs to
I
be.
I couldn't swear they're not mine because I may have lost one or two images along
Mm-hmm.
the road. I've had computer crashes and I
Mm-hmm.
do good backups, but they're not perfect.
Yeah, because
Um,
I know you had
you know,
mentioned
let
there
me
were
see.
like A and B images, and what kind of stands out to me is that so this
Oh,
image was
ABC is the number is the original, and ABC just means I enhanced the contrast
oh
or
no, you're good.
I darkened it or lightened it or something. It's exactly the same image, just
Yeah,
um, the letters outside of
yeah.
there.
Sorry, I may have misspoke. I meant like you took two pictures and like they're like, "Oh, well these are really similar, so I'll only use the one." You had mentioned
Uh,
because
they,
you were
they,
keeping the
they,
other
they
ones.
would no, they would not have an A or B. They would have a different number.
Right. No,
And
I just meant like contextually like, "Oh, this image and this image are the same." But
I'm, I'm, look- I'm looking at the numbering system on the pictures up on Drive.
mm-hmm.
Except for the B's or C's or N's, they're all original numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that there are
Six
numbers
ones.
missing between them
Yeah,
means there
that
are pictures missing.
yeah, that's why I was curious because yeah, there's some gaps in the numbers. So like between 1281.95 and 1281.91 and 95 and then 95 and 98. And you if you want to withhold, I mean, or hold on to
Oh
those,
no,
or if you
that's
don't
my
have them,
picture. I remember that one. I don't know whether I have that on Drive, but that's my picture.
yeah. And actually, I was saying it looked like someone took a picture of a screen right here. You can actually see there. That's the Windows 7 Wi-Fi connection thing. So yeah, so this had to have been taken a while back. Like you can like see that on whatever desktop it was on, because you can see it in a couple of them. But yeah, there's that one that we saw, and then there's like this one which is slightly similar but to the left more, um, and then this one's kind of in between the other two. Like I said, the reason why I asked is just because we just want to be able to attribute these, even if you're not necessarily thrilled about them being out there, or maybe you don't have access to them anymore. Um,
Yeah, I have a way. I have a way to do a search
mm-hmm.
across 8 or 10 discs. I'm going to load everything up,
No, you're fine,
and
and
I'm
you
doing.
can do that on your own time. I don't mean to take too much time out of your day
Yeah,
now.
no, that would take a couple
Yeah,
hours for.
but
We're looking at probably
mm,
20, 30 terabytes of
geez,
images, not the World Trade Center, but
yeah, yeah,
I, photography is
yeah,
something I do a lot of, and I keep
yeah,
copies of. I'll just have to turn everything on and do it,
yeah. No
and I will
worries.
see like
Yeah, and if you want
okay,
any help with that, but I just want to make sure if these are yours that they're attributed to you and they're credited to you because right now a
okay,
lot of them are listed as unknown or there's claims that there was this person or that person. I think the last time we spoke that someone had mentioned that there was a another gentleman taking pictures, but there's no claims as if that's actually true. So we just want to
Okay.
clarify all of that and make sure that it's properly attributed.
All right. I really have to wrap this up.
No, you're good. That was kind of the last thing I wanted to go over. I
Okay.
don't think there's any more questions between anyone. Document claim there's 11 seats in the Plaza. Could you confirm this is false or true? That is false. They would have been United 175. So you can see that in the Talercio video. Earlier copies zoomed in. Just looks like metal wrapped in insulation. Question. Okay, that looks like all of the questions we have, and there are none more. So I believe that wraps things us up for was there anything last you wanted to say? Is there any like communities you support or
No,
anything that you want to?
if you need more help doing anything, give me a holler. I'll do what I can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Well, we really appreciate having you here and being able to kind of share this information and all this with you. I really appreciate you bearing with us with the issues we had the other day and kind of still sticking around with us. So we greatly appreciate that.